Good evening. Good evening. Welcome, everybody. I was having a little technical difficulty there for a second. I went to go live and they were telling me that YouTube deleted the broadcast because of something. So it was making me edit it. But listen, I'm so excited today. Today is an awesome day. Listen, we're starting our March Madness interviews. We're talking about your business is not a game. Right now, everybody's trying to get into the basketball tournament so they can possibly win at a championship in the college arena. But what we want to do, we want to talk about during this time, and all of these will be recorded. You can go back and look at my YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We'll have snippets on there. We want to talk about business principles, legal tips, franchising, finances, and how to scale your business. And so this is what we will be doing for the entire month of March on each Wednesday. And I'm so excited tonight. Y'all, I have a special guest in the house tonight. You've seen the flyer circulating around the internet. I have Attorney Jamila Moore, and she's going to be on with us tonight. We're just going to be talking. We're just going to be natural and laid back. So grab a coffee, get you something to drink. I'm going to bring her on, and we're just going to be talking about legal tips tonight. You can put comments in the chat if you have a question for her, and then I'll also be posting her information as we go further into the session, so you can reach out and contact her. So at this time, I'm going to add her into the stream, and we're going to get going on tonight.
Hey.
Hey. Jamila, how is it going?
It's going great. No complaints at all. Super excited for you to bring me on for your audience to serve tonight.
I've been wanting to do an interview with you ever since I met you. I guess I could tell the people briefly how I met you. My wife and I are part of a mastermind, and the mastermind was taking place in Orlando, and it was our very first mastermind, and Jamila was there. And then we even got to spend more time with her in last August in Miami at the W Hotel. That was an awesome time. And come to find out, she's just a phenomenal attorney. If you want to be protected, if you want to be legal, you don't want to look, you know how they say you're riding dirty when you don't have your driver's license? Look, if you want to be legal and have your business set up the right way, this is the lady that you need to be talking to. So this is why I wanted to kick off the March Madness interviews with you, because before we do anything, we've got to get our documents in order. And I feel like sometimes as business professionals and business people, we want to do everything else but pay the attorney. What do you think about that, just off that statement?
I'm happy you started off with saying riding dirty. And so when you want to do everything else in your business and not hire an attorney, when you want to pull the templates, when you want to go to LegalZoom and not really know what's happening in your business, you are riding dirty. Can I paint a picture for everybody? Okay, let me paint a picture. So let's just say you go out there and you get your dream car. It's that Rolls Royce, it's that Bentley, it's whatever it is. When you get that car, are you going to get that car uninsured? Are you going to get it somewhat insured? Or are you going to get it fully insured? Right? You want to make sure that if something happens to your baby, that it's okay, because I can take care of them and I can make sure my baby can come back to me the right way. And so when you are operating a business, you need to make sure you have an attorney involved, because you want to make sure your baby is taken care of.
For sure. I'll never forget. There's a gentleman here in Orlando. He has a company. They sell detailing supplies. So he said, Anthony, he's from Riyadh. Riyadh, am I saying it right? Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, next to Dubai, Riyadh.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure that's the name of it. But anyway, he went home because he's trying to get his products into that country. And so he calls me. He said, Anthony, he said, man, I know you're doing fine. He said, I know your business is doing great. You're making money. He said, but are you in Saudi Arabia? I said, nah, man. I said, why? He said, he hung up. He said, I'll call you right back. So he calls me back, and someone has stolen my logo, the logo that's up here on the top of the screen. Someone had went to Facebook, and I talked to the guy, and he's taken my logo, switched the name, and put Mr. Wash on there. And so what do we do in those instances? How do we know? I mean, I would have never known that someone was using my logo in another country. So what do you recommend for people? Because I know we're going to talk about a few things tonight, and then people can contact you. But as far as getting the business established from the get-go, how do we protect our logos? Like, what are the first things that we need to do? You know, when if someone calls you after this interview and set up a session, what does that look like?
Yeah. So one, I want to say that though I am an attorney, I am not your attorney. I am not giving you legal advice, nor do I have an attorney-client relationship with anyone who will hear this. I'm just sharing my opinion and general information that relates to the law. If you are starting your business, one, you want to make sure you have your contracts in place. Two, you want to make sure that you have protected your intellectual property. And three, you want to make sure that you have the right things in place to protect your business, your profits, and your brand. So let's take the example that you use where someone just took what you had and made it their own. Well, that comes to play when you haven't protected your brand and your business, which affects your profits. I know a lot of times we see people talking about, oh, trademark this, trademark that, but trademarking is important. And the interesting thing about your situation is that we can trademark with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. So that gives us protection in America. But if we want worldwide protection, we have to use the Madrid Protocol process.
Wow. I probably need to contact you about that myself. Because they said that's international, right?
Yes.
And see, I remember when I was in Korea in the Army, the Korean people, and they would put Nike, Adidas on any garment. And I'm thinking, this can't be legal. You can't just be sticking a Nike logo on any bag, any purse, and then selling it to me. You know, it's the shoes. They're just making Nike shoes, making Nike. And I'm like, this can't be legal. And so I know Nike's not going after them. Like I didn't go after that gentleman because it's so expensive to go after everybody. And so what would determine if I wanted to go after someone like that? Like, what do you think would be an instance? I guess maybe if they're tarnishing the brand.
I think that low key, mid key, high key, you want to go after them just to set a precedent that with my brand, it is my brand. Right. And you want to make them aware, but it's tricky because that was an international situation, but I will just speak to a national situation, which is the United States. I would say that, yes, you want to go after them, but when you own a trademark, you always have to be searching periodically to make sure that no one is infringing upon your rights. And you want to do that because if they are, they may owe you money for infringing upon your rights. And so sometimes we think of trademark as protection, but trademark is protection and profits. Because if you play with me the wrong way, then you have to run to me your profits. So another example is I have a webinar that I host 2 times a month called Structure for Wealth to help out entrepreneurs to make sure they know exactly what they need to be doing in their business from a legal standpoint. And I wanted to call that webinar Protect Your Profits. Well, I went and did some research, went and did a trademark search and realized there is someone that owns Protect Your Profits for legal educational services. So had I had gone forth, any money that I make from Protect Your Profits, if I'm found out, then I'm on the hook for the money I made. I'm not in the business of losing money. Are you in the business of losing money?
Oh, no. I'm a for-profit business. I want my year-over-year margins to grow, preferably 16% or more. And that's why we have Paul coming on, y'all, in 3 weeks. Paul Jervy is going to be talking about finances, but I'm in business to make money. And so I don't want to infringe. And so can you explain also as an attorney, I see on different brands, there's a C and there's a R. What does that mean? Some people might not know.
No, that's really good. So I'll add another one too, the TM. So C means that you have copyright protection, and those are like digital works and print works like books, audio, songs, poems, things of that nature. But then when you get into the trademark, that's really your name, your slogans, maybe even just a tagline for a business. And so when you see the TM mark, that means that there are common law protection rights and that there's either protection in that state or there is an application file that is pending. And so there's protection that way. But when you see registered, which is the R, that means that the trademark is actually registered with the USPTO, and that people better watch out for your brand because it is now public notice that like, hey, it's really filed, it's here, and it's here to stay. And I think one of the things that I will add there is that sometimes people let their marks lapse because they don't know to continually keep the mark up. So every 5 years, you have to go and make sure you do the work to make sure that your mark is still live and active rather than dead.
Oh, wow. So I didn't know that. I didn't know what the TM was. I wasn't even thinking about the TM. So I think I'm going to have to hire you after this to do some consulting and do an overhaul on my business, because I think it's important as we scale. You don't want to scale and then find out that you got the wrong name, or you got the name that somebody else has, and that, you know, you're using materials that belong to someone else. Because at that point, I mean, you're making hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of dollars. And then this is why I said that I think from the beginning, the attorney is so important, you know, to make sure that every document that we have it's legal, it's set up the right way, everything is what it should be. And if we don't do that, I feel like we're doing ourselves a disservice, you know. This past weekend, I was at the Preachers Academy, and they talked about before you ever do anything, get your contracts up front. You know, even if you're friends, you know, sometimes I feel like if in business, friends will go into business and they feel like because they're friends, oh, I don't need a contract, I don't need an attorney, but you need it more so. What would you say about that? Like someone that's a friend, or, you know, they're do they still need a contract, or do they still need papers, or do they just do it on a handshake?
It is actually really dangerous to do business without a written document. It is actually really dangerous to do business with a template where you don't understand the wording in there. It is actually really dangerous to do business having someone kind of dibble and dabble and make something for you without having an attorney look it over, because you will not understand what is truly happening there and what you're missing and what you need to add in. And so here is a prime example of why you do not just hire someone word of mouth. Everything that we do in business touches the law. Everything that we do in business touches the law. And so when you hire people in your business, you invoke employment and labor law. And with employment and labor law, many of those laws are strict liability. What that means is if the person can prove A, B, and C, and if A, B, and C is true, you are strictly liable. There is no defense. And I'm going to free someone right now, Anthony. Let me tell you how I'm going to free them. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse for not following the law.
So I can't say I didn't know?
No.
The judge's not going to want to hear it?
No, you should have known. And
right.
We have a client right now who's like, this person is saying there were unpaid wages. Well, if they can prove that there were unpaid wages here in the state of California, it's a wrap. You either have to settle, and if you take it to court, you don't want the judge to go in and tell you what you have to pay and have all of the penalties and things of that nature.
Wow. So, hey guys, listen, are y'all enjoying this on tonight? I see people coming in and out of Facebook. If you have a question for Jamila, you can put it in the chat. I'm watching the chat here in StreamYard. So if there's a question that you have, if it's something that's within her wheelhouse, she would do her best to answer it. And then at the end of the night, or here, you'll have the opportunity to contact her, set up an appointment and consult with her if you need to. I know a lot of people right now during this season are looking at starting their business. And like I was saying before, the reason I brought her on first, you can't jump into business without knowing the legalities. You can't jump into, I don't know the forms. I don't know how. Listen, a lot of the stuff that I did it on my own. I did it and I was winging it, and then I got help later. But during this day and this time, you want to be legal from the very beginning. You want if you're setting up an LLC, a S Corp or C Corp, how do you know which one you need? You don't know. So you have to figure out the proper structure. And this is where she can help you. Right now, they're talking about with this recession, and I think we're already in a recession, but the Fed was on yesterday. He was on today, and they're talking about 7% unemployment. So people, we need to start thinking, what can I do to support myself? What can I do to support my family? And this is why we say March Madness, your business is not a game. You've got to create something. And it starts with mindset. So Jamila, can you tell us the mindset you were in when you started saying, I want to be an attorney? Because that's a whole nother, it's different from any other job, I would say, because you got to go to school. You get sworn in. Don't they swear you in like a police officer?
Yeah.
Your license can be, isn't there a license that you get or what is? Yeah. So you can be like shut down. So what was the mindset? Because, in our mastermind, Darius always talks about mindset, skill set, toolkit. So you had to have the mindset first to even say, I want to do this. And sometimes I feel like attorneys, you're serving. Even if you're a prosecutor, you're in business, you're a family attorney, a defense attorney, you're serving the people. So it's a life of serving. So can you speak to that tonight for the people and kind of let them know how you think about your business, your calling, the mindset that it takes?
Yeah. So one, if you can see back here, there's a number there. There's 300 on that little board. And that number is the minimum amount of businesses that I want to make sure that I touch this year make sure that they avoid the costly mistakes of starting and growing a business without legal counsel. And it's not a matter if you will need legal, it is when you will need legal. And so many times we get so excited about the wealth possibility. Mm-hmm. But at every stage of building our business, we have to include the attorney, because at every stage we could be doing something to sabotage the wealth. You have so many times where people don't understand.
Wait a minute. You said something big right there. Go back about sabotaging the wealth. We can't just jump over that. Say that again now. You said at every stage.
Yes, at every stage of building out a business, we are putting ourselves in a position to sabotage our wealth if we do not have legal counsel on board.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I could literally make $1 million, but because I didn't get set up and have legal precedents in place, I could end up losing that whole $1 million to legal fees, being sued, this fee, that fee, because I didn't take the time. And I basically brought it on myself. We say the devil is busy, but it was me. Wow. Whew, wow. That right there is worth this interview tonight. Because when you think about it, well, what do you think about trust? And I know you're a business attorney, but I know one of my clients, they told me, they said, you need to put your business in a trust to protect your business. They said, because you have vans running, you have people going here and there. What if one of your vans hits somebody and kills somebody? What if the van, a tire comes off and an employee dies? All of these things we have to think about on the front end. It's dangerous to do business. Can you speak to that? Because we all want a profit margin, but we don't get a profit margin if we're sabotaging ourselves. That's deep right there.
Yeah, because and I think the thing is like, do you want your profits to come back to haunt you? That's really the thing that you have to think about when you decide not to involve legal counsel. Because if you don't, then your profits will come back to haunt you like years down the line. You're like, wait, you want to come for my million now? Wait, you want to come for my 100,000 now? But it's the thing that you didn't have the right insight and foresight. And that's what an attorney gives you in your business, is that insight and foresight for you to know at this point, this is when you may want to go into getting taxed as an S corp. It is at this point that you want to make sure that you have the right policies and disclaimers in place on your website. It is at this point that you want to make sure that you have an attorney.
Can we stop for a second? You said policies and disclaimers, because we're saying a lot of stuff tonight. Can you expound just a little bit on policies and disclaimers? So what does that look like?
Yeah, so I'll speak first to a policy. So a lot of businesses are so excited to, grab their first few customers that they don't realize that they actually need to have basically the rules of engagement of what it means for you to do business with my business. So how do you go about getting a refund? Are refunds allowed? Are chargebacks allowed? Is there a non-disparagement, non-compete clause in the terms and conditions or terms of use? And that's where I think about policies. But then on the disclaimers, depending on the type of business you're in, you want to make sure that you are not out here falsely guaranteeing something. Because a lot of times we think about a client or maybe an employee or independent contractor ruining our business. But I like to talk about the alphabet boys. So that's the IRS. That's our state and federal municipalities, where they could look at you and say, you've broken this consumer protection law. You've broken this privacy law. You've broken this marketing and advertising law. And so now we are suing you. You don't have an individual suing you. You have the government suing you because you did.
So let me stop you right there, because you're saying a lot. And I know I'm gonna have to hire you after this. As you're talking, I see cracks, and this is why I wanted you on first. I'm hoping that when people see the YouTube, the LinkedIn, the Facebook, wherever they see this, if they're in business, they'll be like, "Wow, I need to fix that. I need to fix this. I need to call Jamila. I need to call whoever, but I need to get this right." You just said something. You said the alphabet boys, and you talked about violating. So how do we even, and you said earlier, ignorance is not, we don't get off because we don't know. So how would I know without consulting with an attorney, all of the state laws and things that I'm breaking, doing business? How does a person even know that when they're getting started if they don't reach out to an attorney? Like, say somebody doesn't have the money. And I feel like now, knowing what I know, being in business 22 years after I got out of the military, I feel like if I'd have went back, hired an attorney, did my branding, even if I started late, it would push me so much further down the road. I remember when we first got started, we were giving people the full sheet of paper as advertising with our rates and stuff. And you never get a second chance to make a first impression. But how would somebody know? Like, is there somewhere like they say, hey, well, I hear you guys. I like to hire an attorney. I want to get started. Maybe they've just been laid off or something. Is there a place they can go on the internet and find this stuff out? Because I didn't know any of this, and I just got started. I just jumped out and just took off running and did my business.
Yeah, I think, we're in an information age where we have Google, we have Chat GPT, GP Chat, whatever it is, all this.
Chat GPT.
So you can ask the internet questions like, what are all of the legal things that I need to think about when starting a business? But again, that's just general information, and you don't have that personalized information for your business. And I think that's where things get tricky, and why you'll hear many attorneys say, do not go out there and get a template, because it's general. It's not specific to your business. And when it's not specific to your business, you again put your profits, you put your brand, and you put your business on the hook. It literally takes one mistake to shut down everything.
Wow. Have you experienced that with your business where people have gotten into trouble to where they've had to shut their business down, or it's gotten to the point to where they're no longer in business? Have you seen that before?
I have seen some really deep muddy waters. And I'm trying to help a client navigate through that right now. And one of the things that I want to think about, or I would just want to highlight for folks, and you kind of hit on it earlier, like hiring your friends, but also going into partnerships and starting a business with multiple people. You cannot do that without some sort of partnership agreement or an operating agreement if you have an LLC. Here's the thing that I want to highlight for every single person on here. And I was driving down the street just thinking about some of my clients, and I was like, there are no friends in business. It sounds harsh to say, but in reality, there are no friends in business, because if greed ever steps in, that friend will become a foe. And now your business is out there without protection. Your profits are out there without protection.
And I've seen that too in business with family. We had an issue in my family, and I'm not going to say what it is because I know some of my family is watching, but there was no trust in place. There was a will in place, but as family operating business together without a written agreement, and then someone passed. After that person passed, the business accounts frozen. You can't touch the money. The attorneys are sucking the money like a vampire. Like, I had never seen anything like that. And it just started making me think, I've got to get my stuff in order, because if I should pass or something should happen, the succession plan should be seamless because I've thought these things out. So there shouldn't be all of that. He said it was mine. It was supposed to go this way. No, those documents have to be clear. And that's what hiring an attorney does. It gives you clarity. And so that's one thing that we want to look at tonight. So what does someone get if they hire you or consult with you? What are some of your major focuses in law as an attorney, as far as launching a business or helping them get further down the road with you?
Yeah, so I think the interesting thing about me, and I'm just so grateful unto God that like He's graced me to be a one-stop shop as it relates to starting and growing your business, from having just a holistic understanding of marketing, advertising, privacy law, all the different things, so that when you're starting, you know what contracts to have in place. When you're growing, you know how to classify an employee or an independent contractor. When you're starting and growing, you know what to trademark and what to copyright. You know what to look out for and what to kind of just proactively cast vision for. And I think one of the things that one of my contracts teachers used to say, she said, pay us now or pay us later. And I think sometimes we are a little like, pay now, like it's so much money. But you don't realize you're setting yourself up to pay a whole bunch of money later, because now we have to detangle what has happened. We have to go back and correct. We have to go back and audit. And so it's best just to start right.
Wow. Well, we've talked about a lot. We've been going for 30 minutes. If anybody has any questions, if you want to ask Jamila a question, you can put it in the chat. I'll see it. We'll do our best. Well, not me, but she'll do her best. Listen, I can't help you at all. I don't have any legal advice because I'm not in that field, but she'll do her best to answer it. And if not, I did put her website on the screen. Feel free to take that down, do a screenshot if you're on your device, and reach out to her. Listen, I mentioned it earlier. They said a recession is coming, y'all. We are in a recession, and people are being laid off. Apple has laid people off. Google, all these tech companies and companies are laying people off. And I really feel like that we should start thinking of ways that we could support ourselves and support our families should something happen. And the only reason I'm in business today is because when I got out of the military, Nobody would hire me. And so I got hurt jumping out of an airplane in the 82nd Airborne. And when I got out of the military, they told me I would have the veterans preference to get hired, but nobody would hire me because I had injured my back. And so I said, you know what? I know how to clean cars. I know how to do the cleaning. I know how to do so many things. And I was praying about it. I said, you know what? I'm going to do the cleaning business because it's recession proof. And look, I worked for years for the Army, 12, 13, 14-hour days. I'm going to work harder for myself. And so I said, I'm going to get started. And guess what? I started right out of the trunk of my car. And so you have to think of something, be in the mind space that you know what you want to do, get clear on what you want to do, get the right legal advice and get going, because you're not going to fire yourself. When the rubber meets the road and you got to take care of your family or take care of you and things have happened, do something that you love. I love the cleaning space. It's allowed me to meet celebrities and different people that I never would have met if I wasn't in that space. So it's just been wonderful. But I have several things that I'm doing. So it's a cleaning space. We have our own record label. I'm a transformational coach. I coach people. I help people in that way. And we have a ministry. So I have several irons in the fire. But find what suits you, get legal advice, and then success loves speed. What do you think about that, Jamila? Just finding some, because that's what people are looking to do right now. They're looking for something to do, and then you've got to have that legal advice on the front end. Please put it on the front end.
Yeah, please put it on the front end and save yourself some money. It's a return on investment if you really think about it. You're just investing money that's going to have a huge return later. I think you're spot on. I think when we think about the level of freedom and abundance that we're supposed to have, it comes through the avenue of entrepreneurship. And so I take what I do very, very seriously because I understand that I'm helping people access wealth. And accessing wealth through entrepreneurship can seem really, really scary. It can be really, really daunting. But when you have the right people in place with the right heart posture, that thing is a no-brainer as to what you will do. It's just a matter of fine-tuning how you will do what you've been assigned to do in that specific season. And so I implore everyone to start thinking entrepreneurial about what problem can you solve that people are willing to pay for and that they want solved.
Mm-hmm. And then also, I can imagine people are not asking questions. I see people on different platforms, but somebody might say, well, she's all the way in California. How can she help me? She's in LA. So is there a barrier with you being in LA or how does that work?
Yeah, so I am a licensed attorney in California and New York. And so when you operate as a transactional attorney, that means a proactive attorney, just making sure you stay out of court in a sense. You can practice law in any of the 50 states and or regions because we have a few U.S. owned regions. And so I'm not restricted there. The only restriction comes if I have to go and file a lawsuit on your behalf. But I'm not a litigator, so you wouldn't really want me to file a lawsuit on your behalf. But I am able to kind of navigate people through that process. You talked about things that I do, like I just had to send out a demand letter for someone who thought that they could just run away from my client's company. Like, no. And it's like, I'm so sweet, I'm so warm, I'm so welcoming, but take advantage of a business owner. And you will see the wolf of California come out. Like, don't play with people. Like, she set you up with a great opportunity, and you're going to take $20,000 away from her profit margin? Nah, not on my watch.
Wow. And there's another question I had. So if you said you're a transactional attorney, can you break that down a little bit for the people in the back? Because I'm not even sure what that is. So I know when we're like, I see some people on the corner and they're doing transactions and passing back, but I don't think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, it's really so. There's transactional attorneys and there are litigating attorneys, and the litigating attorneys, those are the ones that when things go bad, or they want to set things up, they go to court or they go to arbitration or they go to mediation. Transactional attorneys proactively work with you from a contracting space, from like a legal knowledge space, to make sure that you're adequately secured and protected in various areas. So someone will look at me and see that I am a business attorney, and intellectual property, which spans across trademark and copyright. I don't do patents. But if you are, let's just say you are Google and you are Amazon, and they're going to do a merger and acquisition. So a transactional attorney would be hired for that, to handle that transaction.
Okay.
Earlier, I said everything we do in business has a legal implication. And so because it has a legal implication, that's where your transactional attorneys come into play.
Okay. Okay. That's a great answer. That's an excellent answer, because I want to make sure too, I know attorneys, y'all use jargon and rhetoric that the regular people, we just don't understand. And so sometimes with me, I always ask questions because I want to understand. Some people will just sit there and they'll hear like a big word or something and they won't say anything. And then they'll leave not knowing. So I'm trying to think, questions that people would ask. One of the things that I put on the flyer, why should you hire an attorney, was one of the questions. And is your business protected? And then protect your brand and your business. I want to just hit on one of those with the time that we have left, because I wanted to go for 40 minutes and we're at 7:37 right now. So just a few more moments. But when would you say that someone needs to contact you? Is it after they have the actual vision of their business? Do they need to contact you before the EIN, before the website, before, like, should they be talking with you? Like, let's say, for instance, I say, Jamila, I want to start a dog walking business. I want to franchise it. I want to have a branch in LA. It's going to take care of the Huntington Beach area. I'm going to put one in Houston, Texas, and then one in Orlando. So it's dog walking in 3 spaces. It's LA, Houston, Orlando. So before, when I come to you with that idea, how do we take that? At what time do I need? When do I need you?
Yes, so that's a really great question, Anthony. The reality is you need me at the moment of inception of an idea. And let me tell you why. Because you want to make sure, one, it's a viable, marketable idea. 2, you want to make sure that what you name it and how you go about naming it will not infringe upon someone else's rights. I say this, we have to search before, we have to search during, and we have to search after. And what that means is we always have to be on the lookout to make sure that we are not putting ourselves in a position to be sued, or putting ourselves in a position where we're going to have to sue someone because we didn't do our due diligence. And so when you're starting out, there are so many decisions that you have to make. You mentioned hiring a website designer, right? How do you know if the website designer is going to do a really good job? You need to have your own set of contracts that are in place in your business, so that you know that they are bound to certain rules and regulations that are outlined in an agreement that you understand. And then you also want to make sure you're adequately protected and that you have the knowledge to negotiate if you had an independent contractor or employee that may be more sophisticated in the legal world. A lot of times I see people get burned. And they're like, oh, well, they told me to sign this off a Panda doc. They told me to sign this. No, whenever you do business with me, you're signing my contract. I understand it. I know it, because if not, I'm going to have to edit the hodgepodge that you put together. Because when I look at contracts, I see a hodgepodge and I'm like, okay, you pulled a template and you're not fully protected.
So when you say they pulled a template, are you saying they just basically went to the internet and Googled such and such form, and that's what they're presenting to you as a contract?
Yes.
So
or they could have gone, like, I think about some of the CRM. So those are like the marketing companies, like 16 Hats and stuff like that. They're like, we give you templates. We give you a contract. That
Right.
contract isn't specific and it doesn't fully protect you. I look at that, I'm like, ain't no indemnification clause, ain't no limitation on liability, there's no
Hmm.
non-compete clause. I could just take everything you taught me, go reteach it, and make millions. But what are you going to do about it? It's not written. If it's not written, it doesn't exist in the legal world.
Right. So I guess we can end on this. So can you tell us in just a few moments what makes a contract a good contract? And when you're looking at it, because I'm interested now, because you're saying, because I've seen some of those templates, and I'm wondering from a lawyer's perspective or an attorney, when you look at the contract, what are maybe three key things that you're looking at? And then I'm going to have you, put your number out, or if people want to contact you, they can contact you. And then this will be loaded. Our YouTube didn't load, but this will be on YouTube, and we'll make sure that people can contact you over the coming days. But can you just hit on that for a few moments before we close? What makes a contract a good contract? And how would I know that I have a good contract?
That's a loaded question. I don't think I can adequately do it justice on closing. I would tell people they probably need to sign up for my next Structure 12 class for that one. But if I could highlight some big areas where I'm like, one is the description of the scope of work. People will put like 3 to 4 bullets without any specificity. If there's no specificity, if there's no timeline, then there isn't really anything that the person is supposed to render besides, so let's just use the website for an example. I'm going to do a 3-page website with 5 frames on each page. Mm-hmm. How many revisions do you get? At what point do we call the website complete? When are payments due? So that's just one thing. Then another thing that people have to think about is the exchange of intellectual property that happens. So sometimes if you go on Fiverr, if you go on someone, they're going to create this amazing logo for you. They're going to design this for you. They're going to do this for you. Well, when it's all said and done, in the contract, did it outline who had ownership rights of the media?
Wow.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that.
Right. And that's why I try and illuminate, and sometimes people just really don't understand the magnitude of what they don't know that's impacting their business, their brand, and ultimately their profits. Mm-hmm. Because you don't want to wake up and like, maybe Tyler Perry wants to bring you on and have you do blah, 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 and he wants to use your logo. Well, there is nothing that you've documented that shows that you own the rights to the logo. Even if you trademarked it, where was the contract agreement that showed that you have ownership rights to
it? To the logo. I'm going to have you do an overhaul of our company, because we have a lot of that, but this really makes me think. So, like, if he wanted to use that in a movie, they're driving by and the logo's right there, there has to be contracts in place for that. Mm-hmm. Wow. Guys, listen, Jamila. Look, we barely scratching the surface at 45 minutes. I could go on all night, but this has been very eye-opening for me. I think you're going to get some phone calls, because I see some of the people that are on, their business people on Facebook. We have a Orlando Detailers Facebook group, and there's about 175 people in there, and I posted this there. So guys, give Jamila a call. Can you let people know how to reach out to you? Do they simply need to go to the website and drop you an email, or is there a number you want them to call, or how can people reach you for consulting and for transactional, say it again.
For transactional work in their business.
Exactly that.
Yes, no, great question. So one, you can definitely head to the website and sign up for a free discovery call. The other way that you can reach me, because my calendar is full for the next 2 weeks,
I bet it is.
You can email me at legal@IamandMore.com with one O. So just literally attaching legal and at to the website, and you will be able to contact me. Yeah, I'm happy to serve you. I want to make sure that you're protected. I want to make sure that your profits are secured, because my business is your business, and I always mind my business.
And does it matter the size of the business? No business too big, too small?
I would say it depends. That's a typical lawyer answer, right? It depends on their needs. So yeah, like reach out to me, think through the questions that you have. You may actually want to go back and rewatch this video just to like really take in the depth of information that was provided here.
And I have one more question before we finish. If somebody is getting ready to sell their business, can you help them with that, or can you give them feedback or consult with them or coach them into that space also?
Yes. And I think the most important thing, because I've had to deal with this 2 times now as of late, is making sure that you have the right financial people in place too. Like lawyers are important, but also accountants and people who deal in finance, because those are 2 different things. Accountant and people who deal in finance, to really understand like a profit and loss statement, to understand the cash flow statement, to understand the income statement. And so all of these things matter in your business, especially if you're thinking about acquiring one or selling one.
Wow. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this on tonight. Jamila, you're going to have to come. Listen, we have a challenge coming up. I'm going to be mentioning this, talking about it, but she's going to be in our VIP. And y'all, this is just scratching the surface. If you come and join us, we have a challenge coming up in a month or so. I can't say the name because we haven't done the copyright. We haven't saved the name. So I was about to say the name, but I remember what you said in Miami at the mastermind. You're like, y'all, we can't just be saying these names and stuff until we get these papers right. So I almost blew it. But we have a challenge coming up. And listen, we're going to invite her back. I don't know if she's going to come, but we're going to try and get her in our VIP. And if you want to listen, you can get further down the road with transformational coaching. You can get further down the road with attorneys, accountants, people that have been there and done that. And so it really makes a difference. And so please stay in touch. Reach out to her. I'm so excited. Thank you for coming tonight. I know you're in LA. Look, it's 8 o'clock here, 5 o'clock there. She took time out of her schedule. So y'all, please reach out. And we want to be a blessing. And I just want to thank you, thank you, thank you. We're part of the same mastermind. So there's so much wealth in our mastermind. So thank you for coming over and bringing some of that wealth and knowledge over here to the GI Clean space. And once again, thank you. We're going to end right here. We're going to unplug. And guys, please, our challenge is coming up. She will be joining us in our VIP, and we'll go a little bit deeper there. And then also, don't you have a mastermind, or is there something else that they can contact you for before we get out of here?
Yeah, I think everyone should probably attend my masterclass, Structure for Wealth. It is a very comprehensive masterclass that kind of walks you through exactly what you need to know as you are operating and growing your business. And then there's a second portion where we go into a deep dive regarding contracts, what you need to know, what you need to look out for, and then also like actually how to name things and how to look out for your intellectual property from a trademark standpoint. And if I could leave them with one final thought, they say one of the quickest paths to wealth is real estate purchase, right? And in the legal world, we call that real property. And so as big as real property is to a person's wealth, that same thing is true of their intellectual property. So the ideas and things that come to our mind are wealth. And a lot of times we don't do the requisite work to protect it and make sure that someone else cannot almost like infringe upon our rights, but also just and I can't think of the word right now, like go in and gouge the profits. That's not what I want to say, but like take advantage of our intellectual property, because we don't consider our thoughts and the great things that come from our mind as property.
Wow. Wow. My head is spinning and going 1,000 miles a minute. This has been so informative and so great. I'm so glad that we had you on tonight. And I'm looking forward to all of the interviews this month, but this was the best way to kick it off. Well, we're going to end right here. If you're coming in late, go back and watch the entire thing. It will be up on our YouTube channel, and we'll see if we can get Jamila a copy too to put on her channel or some snippets or something. But thank you. We're going to unplug here, guys. Y'all have a good night from Anthony and Jamila. March Madness interviews. Your business is not a game. Please take it serious and reach out to Jamila. Have a good night. Take care.